Reincarnated in another world where the strongest exorcist has to learn from the mistakes of his past. Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the strongest exorcist's life and find what this newest anime series is all about. Before we move on, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss out on the latest anime. An attack on a peaceful village by a group of rogue demons is swiftly dealt with by an exorcist riding an albino dragon. However, the same night he's overcome by an attack from the Imperial Court and soon meets his demise, but not before casting one last spell. Sometime after, the exorcist is reincarnated as Seika, an illegitimate son of a renowned clan. Not wanting to make the same mistake he made in his previous life by running after power, Seika masks his true ability despite everyone considering the youth to be weak. Months pass and while in hiding, Seika begins to practice his old spells. Despite his vow to not showcase his magic, Seika is left with no choice when an enormous newt attacks the castle. He easily defeats it, much to everyone's disbelief. Amazed at his son's show of power, Seika's father throws him a huge feast and even approves his request of joining the town's famous Londonea Magic Academy. Seika also asks him if he could take along the female servant Yifa due to her superior control over enchantments, to which he agrees. Seika's brother Glee is enraged at the opportunity his brother is receiving and challenges him to a duel. Obviously, Seika emerges the victor and Glee has no choice but to admit defeat to his father. The journey to the academy is long and tiresome. Despite his other abilities, Seika still suffers from travel sickness. I guess even major sorcerers aren't safe from feeling nauseous like us mere mortals. Upon reaching the academy, Yifa can barely conceal her excitement while our protagonist is more wary about the mysteries that awaited him. At the admission table, he meets Amiyu, a commoner who's skilled in all four elements. Seika recognizes her from his previous life. Yifa and Seika impress greatly at the target practice and as a result receive admission to the prestigious institute. The only sorcerer who managed to get higher scores in the practical as well as written exam is Amiyu. At the orientation ceremony, the students are attacked by lesser demons. Seika wishes to investigate further and finds the caster of the curse. It's a major demon in which of the rumored hero that'll defeat the Demon King. This is the first time we see Seika use his powers seriously and their battle is quite entertaining, but our exorcist emerges victorious. Meanwhile, Amiyu single-handedly defeats the minor demons, which is another example of her superior potential. Seika and Amiyu are selected for a special ceremony in the forest adjacent to the school. Although it seems normal enough, our protagonist has a bad feeling. On the way, the two uncover a rune which teleports them to a dungeon where multiple demons attempt to attack them. They're able to hold them off and side by side even form an unlikely friendship. Something about showing your bareback to a fellow student you met only a day ago does scream friendship. They eventually escape and Seika discovers that it's a teacher at the school who's setting up the runes to attack Amiyu. The exorcist reverses the curse upon the teacher who coughs up blood and then dies. What goes around comes around. At the start of the new school year, Seika is summoned to the principal's office where she informs him that he will be entered into a magic tournament along with a new student, Mabel. Amiyu is irritated that she isn't selected for the tournament and mocks Mabel. However, the newbie makes her eat her words by defeating her in a sword fight. Seika and Amiyu reaches the tournament venue which has attracted a large crowd. Seika has brought along his own two fans in Amiyu and Yifa. He gains victory in his first fight by defeating his opponent in mere seconds. His second battle is no different than the first with a convincing victory. However, the other participants of the tournament are no pushover, with one of the fighters using his evil eye to kill his opponent. Even Mabel qualifies for the next round by defeating a sorcerer much more senior than herself. Meanwhile, Seika continues his detective work by capturing a demon informant and finding out that the school wishes to keep attention off Amiyu as the main hero. Mabel is just a decoy. Both the sorcerers win their remaining battles and are grouped to meet each other in the semifinals. Mabel attempts to talk Seika into forfeiting, but our protagonist refuses. She then goes as far as to attack him while he's sleeping. Seika is prepared and easily defends himself. She then disappears. This is certainly not what he had in mind when he said he wants an attractive girl to wake him up in the middle of the night. Seika confronts Mabel, who reveals that she and the fighter with the evil eye, Kyle, are both siblings owned by merchants. The group who owns them have already plotted for Kyle to kill her in the final, which is why it's so important that Seika doesn't win the semi-final. They had made him a soulless killer, and she needed to free him. Seika assures her that he would defeat Kyle in the final and free him instead. She agrees, but still adamant that she would emerge victorious. Despite giving a good competition, Mabel is the one who loses, and our protagonist qualifies for the final. Seika attempts to save Kyle, but his body has already been cursed. In spite of his best efforts, Kyle passes away. Mabel is miserable, but Seika gives her hope at a new life and introduces her into his friend group. Seika, accompanied by Yifa, is chosen to deal with a dragon in the kingdom of Asteria. His first impression of the new territory is quite bumpy, as he comes to loggerheads with the head mercenary Zect, who's also hired to slay the dragon. Meanwhile, the prince of the kingdom has taken a liking to Yifa and invites her to join his harem as his wife. This is the first time Seika feels the emotion of jealousy and wishes to protect Yifa. Love does make a man do strange things, such as standing up against royalty. Moreover, he also decides to climb the mountain to the Dragon's Lair, where he hopes he would find answers to some of his questions. While Seika is away, the prince's advisor attempts to brainwash Yifa against her master so that she would join the harem. Despite her multiple refusals, the prince just wouldn't take no for an answer and tries to force her to become his wife. Like, bro, take a hint. Just as the contract is about to be signed, Seika shows up mounted on the dragon and rescues Yifa. Turns out the only reason the dragon was acting up was because it had just given birth, and as soon as Seika solved the problem, it became tame. Zect attempts to steal the dragon's egg, but Seika intervenes, and thanks to Yifa's involvement, all the mercenaries are soon in prison. The prince is still hesitant in letting Yifa go, but Seika puts his foot down, leaving the nobleman no choice. The two then return back to school with another successful mission under their belts. For vacations, Seika invites Mabel and Amyu back to the palace to meet his family. Despite such a long break, Glai still hasn't forgiven his younger brother and challenges him to a sword fight as soon as he sees him. Talk about holding a grudge. However, a special guest, the Holy Princess, cuts their duel short. She's the child of a priestess, and her lineage is from royalty, making her an important guest. Despite her status, she doesn't have an attitude and enjoys openly with the rest of the group. Wandering around the town's marketplace, the princess has a close call when wooden beams almost crush her. However, she's saved by Amyu and Glai. Meanwhile, she has begun to catch feelings for Seika. Seems like magic isn't the only thing our protagonist has control over, if you know what I mean. Seika begins to avoid the princess as she has become too clingy. Amyu convinces him to spend more time with her since she hardly has anybody else in her life. The two then have an engrossing chess match over when the princess reveals that she has the ability to see the future. Soon it's time for the students as well as the princess to return back to their ordinary lives. On the way back to the city, their carriage is attacked by rogue bandits. Seika and the soldiers swiftly deal with them, and the princess gives the order for the rebels to be tied up and taken to the city. Our sorcerer is a bit hesitant about the prince's safety, but she assures him that she would be fine. He then returns back to the school. A rogue demon group with special abilities has infiltrated the city and is looking to kill the fabled hero. Seika is ready for them and prepares the necessary traps. However, these bandits are nothing like he has faced before, and they're able to overcome his traps. He then decides to battle them straight on. Such is Seika's strength that he easily defeats each of the bandits using different forms of spells and summonings. They all watch on in disbelief as each of their comrades is killed before their very eyes. Our protagonist is definitely not messing around. With the last two bandits left standing, one of them recognizes Seika as the Demon King Reincarnated. Seika neither confirms nor denies this before warning the demons that nothing would ever happen to Amyu as long as he's protecting her. He then destroys them. However, his problems are far from over, as soon after, a group of knights arrest Amyu for crimes against the Empire. Seika is suspicious that the Empire wishes to kill Amyu and shares his thoughts with the school's principal. However, he's not convinced by her answer and takes matters into his own hands. His eyes filled with wrath, he breaks into the prison without holding back. No guard or knight is safe from his rage. When she sees Saika, Amyu is a bit hesitant in breaking out until the sorcerer reveals that she's the fabled hero. Just as they're about to escape, they're stopped by Glai and the Holy Princess. The princess reveals that they cannot let Amyu live because her very existence would create a war between the demons and the humans. In the modern age, their own systems have gone past the need for heroes or demon kings, which would only cause further chaos and bloodshed. Despite her pleas, Saika refuses to hand Amyu over like a sheep for slaughter. Seeing his determination, even the princess gives up and allows them to escape. As a token of his appreciation, he uses his magic to fix the mess he had made and even reincarnates the knights he had slaughtered. With a small sigh, the princess bids them both goodbye with a vow to meet again. Will Saika ever reach the true power of the Demon King again? Will Amyu fulfill the prophecy and become the destined hero to defeat the Demon King? Will the princess express her true feelings to Saika? Stay tuned to find out, and don't forget to like and subscribe.